I had a podcast with brother um, Nathaniel Haney and Kim Haney over in Stockton earlier in the day. And it was just, I have to tell you that while we were doing the podcast, that Brother Haney was weeping almost the whole way through the podcast. And then, of course, everybody knows Kim Haney. She's so powerful. So it's just been one of those, off the chart kind of days, like amazingness. And so I'm bringing that expectation into this A6 call tonight. I just want you to know that I feel sure that God has something for us, that Sister Dr. Reverend Vani Marshall is going to bring to us. So I would just like to, we're going to do this a little bit different for all of you. She actually asked if we could possibly have some interaction with all of you that are on this Zoom tonight. Maybe have some questions or remarks. And I said, absolutely. She is a licensed therapist counselor and she does this every day. She talks to people in in the middle of whatever their situation, whatever they're going through. So she's going to help us tonight. And so are you there, Dr. Vani Marshall? Hello? I saw her name here. Hello, Sister Vani, are you there?
Hello there, my friend. How are
Oh,
you?
I'm good. Are you in Bangkok, Thailand? Where are you?
I was in Asia, in Malaysia for a number of months. I've with the help of the churches there, I'm planting some churches, some new churches in Malaysia. I go back to Malaysia just before Christmas, so I'm going to have an Asian Christmas. Um,
Oh my
that's
goodness.
that's kind of new. But I'm looking forward to it. But right now I'm in Florida. So
Okay, good.
yeah, I'm in nice sunny Florida. So it's wonderful to be here with some friends, and it's wonderful to be with you, Sister
I
Cranklin.
feel that way too, and I'm just beside myself thrilled that you could meet with us. And I'm glad you're not in Bangkok because that time difference would be 4 in the morning for you or something crazy.
Well, it's actually 10 o'clock in the morning in
Oh,
Bangkok. It's
okay.
breakfast. Yeah. Yeah, in
Okay, good.
Bangkok.
Oh my
But
goodness.
but I'm glad I'm here. The internet over there is sometimes sketchy, so here it's much better. So
Well, thank you for coming on to talk to us. And, I know that you have a lot of education behind what you do, but you have experienced great loss in the last, I don't know, maybe year, losing your darling husband who we loved. And so it's not just your education, it's not just your books, but you're walking this and you know this everything about this, experiencing it. And so we're listening to the voice of wisdom tonight, and we're honored and so thrilled for you to talk to us. And I already spoke that you had asked maybe if someone would want to ask questions. So, at least interact. So the thing is, usually we only go about 35 minutes. So this one may go longer tonight, but this is a different type of thing because you're going to have maybe some participation from all the beautiful people that are here tonight on this Zoom. So let's just pray and then we're going to go on. Jesus, we are so thankful that we're here together on this Zoom call, people from every walk of life, from I don't even know from where, what part of the land, but here we are together on this call. We ask you, we ask you and we request for a divine intervention in all of the situations, the circumstances that need a mighty touch, a healing touch, Lord. And I ask you to anoint our beautiful and wonderful teacher, Dr. Vani Marshall. Strengthen her, Lord. Let her give us your heart as she speaks, Lord, from the standpoint of knowing this sorrow. And we pray that all of the things that is mentioned here will bring healing, will speak life, will somehow ignite a new place, a new passage, a new season in our lives. Oh God, as we seek you now in your precious name, Jesus, amen. So please, Dr. Marshall, please just talk to us.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you, Sister Granquist. I remember those wonderful sunny days in California in your beautiful home, and how my husband and I simply enjoyed ourselves in ministering at your church, but also just spending great times with you and listening to your beautiful voice and all those songs. Um, I will start with this story, and I'm not sure how it may resonate with someone here tonight. I was at an altar at my home church in Alexandria, and I was praying with another lady at the altar. I was not praying alone. I was praying with another lady, another woman at the altar, and just really focused on praying for her. And all of a sudden, the Lord spoke to me, and he asked me this question. This was a number of years ago. This was, I'm sure it was about it was less than 10 years ago, but it was a number of years ago. And the Lord asked me, he said, will you be ready to give up your husband to me, to yield, to surrender your husband to me? That could mean anything, really, to give up, to surrender. But immediately my thoughts went to, something is wrong with him. He's sick and he's going to die. Immediately, I'm an overthinker. I'm very analytical. So I overthink. It's not a good thing to overthink. And it's a weakness to be an overthinker. It's okay to be analytical, but not an overthinker. So I couldn't continue praying for that lady anymore. So I just began to ask the Lord. I said, well, what do you mean? I mean, if he's not well, reveal it to me. And nothing else was said to me. And I just told the Lord, I said, I don't want to answer that question. I was honest with him. I just said, I'm not going to, I know I'm not going to say, yes, sure, take him, or yes, I'm ready to yield. No, I was more concerned that he was sick and none of us knew what was going on. So that night after church, I went back home and I told my husband, I think we need to get you need to go for blood work or something. He said, why? I said, well, the Lord told me this. The Lord said whether I'm ready to give you up. And of course, I'm not ready to give you up. No, I'll be honest with you. I can't.
Yeah.
And maybe I am too weak. I'm certainly not Abraham, who's ready to give up his son on the altar of sacrifice. I'm not ready to give you up. So the Lord is not showing me whether you're sick or not. Let's go to the doctors and check you out. He says, no, don't be silly. I'm fine. And he was fine. He actually did get a blood test and a physical checkup a few months later for a usual annual thing. He was fine. There was nothing wrong with him. So I was confused. Why would the Lord ask me to give him up? But there was nothing wrong with him. A few months later, in another church service, again, the same altar, the Lord asked me that again. Are you willing to give up your husband? Will you survive if your husband was no longer with you? And not just survive, but revive. Will you still serve me with joy? So I said, Lord, please do not ask this of me, because my answer would be very disappointing. And the Lord said, you need to come to a place where you trust me and love me so much that you're willing to walk on water. Every one of us will receive a walk on water moment.
Yeah.
Walking on water. Get out of the boat, the security of the boat, and walk on water. I wasn't ready to get out of the boat. I loved my husband, still love him. And I had a wonderful marriage. He was a wonderful man, my best friend in every sense of the word.
Yes.
And Sister Granquist, you know how we were with each other. And I couldn't imagine my life without him. Because I knew that after someone we love die, we feel like we're just wandering aimlessly for a bit, a ship without a rudder. That's how I have felt in the land. By the way, he passed away 7 months ago. So it's still new.
Oh, wow.
It's not been a year yet.
Wow.
This year's Christmas will be the first without him. Thanksgiving will be the first without him. His birthday was 3 days ago. It was the first birthday without him.
So hard.
Very hard. Very hard. I'm even surprised that I've gone back to public speaking quite soon. People thought that I would not be back to my speaking engagements and I will not be doing conferences for a few years. Maybe I shouldn't be. Maybe I should take a 2-year break or something. I cannot. I'm not one of those that I could just sit and stare at a wall I'm not. I'm a doer. And so I actually find comfort and solace in doing.
Yes.
But the Lord began to show me that I did not trust him as much as I ought to. There's one thing about being a psychologist, you learn to be a little transparent sometimes to other people's discomfort. But the Lord began to show me, Sister Granquist, and my friends who are listening in tonight, that I didn't trust the Lord as much as I said I did, as much as I declared that I did in music and worship. And oh, Lord, I trust you. And we sing it, we preach it, we teach it. But I wasn't willing to trust him enough to surrender to tell him, yes, I trust you. I surrender everybody in my life to you. I know you will love me and take care of me regardless. No matter what happened, and no matter what happens to my husband or other people that I care about, I know that I will be okay in the Lord. I wasn't ready to tell him that. I couldn't tell him that. I would have been lying.
Yes.
What I did tell him was that if anything happened to my husband, I'm not going to be okay.
Yeah.
So the Lord took me on a journey where I had to learn to trust him slowly. You see, fear has 3 elements. I'm going to be, of course, speaking about the loss of a spouse. But before that, I want to say this. Fear has 3 elements. One is, one of the elements is something bad is going to happen to me. That's the first element. Something bad is going to happen to me. The second element is, there is no one, I cannot and I will not be able to do anything about it. Something bad's going to happen to me. The second element is I won't be able to do anything about it. I'm going to be out. It's outside of my control. I'm not going to be able to fix it. If something bad happens, I'm not going to be able to fix it. The third element is there's no one that is going to help me through this. Those are the 3 elements of fear. And you want to break fear apart. That's it right there. Insecurity, hopelessness, isolation. Insecurity, hopelessness, and isolation. Those are the 3 elements of fear, broken down. And every one of us will go through either one of it or all of it in varying degrees, especially when you lose someone you deeply love. And especially when you lose someone who you thought would be with you for some time, for a long time. My husband was 57 years old when he passed away. I thought he would at least live to be about, I don't know, 75, 80. Looking at our family history, 80 years old would have been normal. He was very involved in soul winning and reaching out and planting churches with me. I teamed up with him to plant those churches. We were missionaries. We were missionaries in New Zealand. We were missionaries in Malaysia. We were missionaries for many years, and for almost 30 years. We were married for 33 years. After 33 years of living with somebody and being with them and teaming up with them, not only in ministry, but in life, you don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon. You think that they're going to be with you for a little while longer.
Absolutely.
But one night, and as God was taking me through the steps of learning how to trust him, because he said, you have so much fear in you, Vani, that you're not able to trust me if I should take your husband. You're saying you will fall apart. And I'm saying, if you trust me, you won't fall apart. You will be cast down, as the Bible says, but not destroyed. And so when one day, my husband, who was healthy, ate healthy, I made sure he ate healthy. I cooked home cooked food 90% of the time for him, because he just preferred home cooked food than store food. And so I enjoyed cooking for him. And one day he went to sleep. He went to bed after dinner, and he passed away while he was asleep. The doctor said his heart just stopped.
It's unbelievable.
I feel it is still unbelievable. But this is the journey of someone who loses a person suddenly, or not even suddenly, even if you went through a journey of illness with that person who died. That means you were, it was anticipatory grief. Anticipatory grief is when somebody has been diagnosed with a terminal illness. You already start grieving, and you are expecting them to pass away at a future date, but you've started grieving now. That's anticipatory grief. That can be very, very hard. But in my husband's case, I didn't anticipate anything. It was not anticipatory grief. He went to bed one evening and did not wake up. Everything changed within a matter of few hours in my life. I lost not only my husband, my best friend, my lover, my soulmate, my ministry partner, but I also lost the dream of a future love, meaning you lose a future love. You lose love. You lose being loved by this person.
Yes.
You also grieve the loss of love, the loss of a future, the loss of dreams. And so when he died, I had a lot of support, and my home church it's quite a large church in Alexandria, Louisiana, and I have many friends, and I'm very, very thankful for godly, wonderful friends. I mean, from the funeral to even the flowers and all the arrangements, my friends actually took it off my hands. And my pastor and his wife and my friends took it off my hands and did everything. They organized everything, the food, the catering, everything. The worship, I just had to choose a few songs, but I felt like like I said earlier, I felt like I was wandering aimlessly, like a ship without a rudder. And the funeral and all of those arrangements actually keep you buffered up for at least a couple of days, because
Yeah.
you're busy doing all of that.
Right.
But it's when everybody's gone home and everything is over, the
Yeah.
everyday things that we are used to doing might feel like they're too much, or the everyday things that we are used to doing might feel like, oh, are we returning to normal too soon? Let me tell you, everyone grieves differently. There is no such thing as too late or too soon. No such thing, not in the realm of mental health or psychology or emotional health or even spiritual. Doing your everyday thing, what we must not do is beat ourselves up and think, am I returning to it too soon, too late? Am I taking too much of a break or too what? Don't. Everyone grieves differently. You have to give yourself permission to grieve in your unique way. If you don't, and if you try to emulate someone else, or if you read a book on, how soon or how long should I take to do this and that and the other, what does normal look like? You can be pressured into doing what or grieving the way someone else grieves. Or if you remember the way your mother grieved the loss of your father, or some relative grieved the loss of their husband, you might be tempted to copy their journey. Don't copy anyone's journey. Your journey is yours alone. God holds your hands and walks you through it. And there were times when I wanted God to hold my hands and felt I could lean on him. And there were times when I was so mad, I was so angry at the suddenness of the death of what I felt, or who I felt was still in the prime of his life, that I didn't want anyone, including God, to hold my hands. I just wanted to be left alone, really, in a little cave of darkness. But the Lord would not let me be. And that's his love. He came looking for me into the cave of darkness, not to pull me out, but to sit with me and to shine his light even in the darkness.
Oh, that's so beautiful, Vani.
Sometimes we think God comes to us to pull us out of something. No. God does not sometimes pull us out. Sometimes he does. If it's going to destroy us completely, he will pull us out of a fire or something that would destroy us. But in a place of darkness where you are grieving and mourning and weeping and you're depressed, God is not just God because he pulls you out. What makes God God in many ways is that he can sit with you in the place of utter depression. He can sit with you in the place of despair and still be God. That is why David said, even if I'm in hell, thou art there with me.
Mm.
Even if I'm in the middle of the ocean, you're there with me. I could be somewhere in the uttermost parts of the world. You will come to me. So if I'm the depth of hell, you are going to come even to my depth of hell and sit there with me, because nothing intimidates God. Certainly not our darkness. Our sadness and depression doesn't intimidate God. It may intimidate people around us. That's why people are, sometimes they mean well, people mean well, but sometimes they want you to just hurry up and get over it. They want, like,
So true.
oh, don't stay depressed so long. He's in a better place. Things like that don't really help. Of course, we know they are all, our loved ones are in a better place. We know that. And so sometimes the most important thing we can do when someone is grieving is just stay silent, just like God. We just quietly grieve with them, hold their hand, don't say a word. That's the best kind of support sometimes. Don't try to find words of comfort. Sometimes there is no words of comfort when you've lost someone like a husband or spouse or a child, a baby, or a parent. And you give them their time, you give them their space. And being Christ-like sometimes is just staying quiet and letting your love and light shine through that darkness without a single word. And one thing that we need to realize, and this is one of the hardest things that I had to realize in the last 7 months since my husband's passing, is that returning to my normal life is not an option anymore. I'm going to say that again. Returning to my normal routine, normal life is not an option anymore. And the more we try to return to normals, meaning our past routine, our past schedule, our past way of life, the harder it's going to be for us because we're resisting entering a new normal. So, my friends, tonight, if you even want a title for tonight's sharing, I want to call it Finding My New Normal, Finding Your New Normal. And one of the ways to integrate your grief into your new normal is to find purpose. Find purpose and meaning where you are now. My husband used to say to me, when he was alive, he used to say, I just one day, if I can just gather up the finances and everything, I want to go back to missions. Now, this time, of course, my husband and I were already planting churches in New York. My husband and I had moved to New York from
Right.
Louisiana.
That's where he
Yeah,
wasn't he, Vani? Yeah.
he passed away in New York. Yes, we were planting a church, 2 churches in New York. Was at the time when he passed away.
Mm.
And of course, we are from Alexandria, Louisiana, and we moved to New York to do missions. And my husband used to say, once we plant this church in New York and when everything is settled and stable, I really want to go back to Asia to plant churches in Asia. My husband was a missionary at heart, and you couldn't stop him from being a missionary. Whether it was at a local Kroger's or at New York or Asia, he's always mission minded. He would always find someone to talk to, and that's who he was. So I began to pray. I said, okay, what purpose can I find when my ministry partner, my life partner, first of all, but the person who did ministry with me, the only person I felt who even understood me as a minister and as in everything that I did, I felt that he just understood me, knew me inside out, and he's gone now. So what purpose? What is my purpose? Should I just retire from all of this and just go, stay in a cottage at the edge of a forest somewhere and hope that my days are shorter rather than longer so I could go be with him? Do I give up? Some of us call it retirement. But no one retired in the Bible, No one. No one who followed Jesus retired. That's what I meant. They died.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that went up in fiery chariots, and there's all kind of stuff that happened.
Yes, yes.
Right.
No one who really served the Lord retired. There was no retirement plan. They either died serving him or disappeared serving him, going
Mhm.
up in a chariot.
Yeah.
My husband certainly didn't retire. He died serving him. So the Lord said to me, he just began to guide me to finding a new purpose and meaning in life. He said, go to Asia where your husband wanted to go. He wanted to, after New York, after the church in New York was established and stable, he wanted to go and plant churches in Asia. You go to Asia. And I'm like, alone? I was planning to go with him. How do I go alone? He said, you won't be alone. You're with me. Nobody that's with me is alone. Not really. So I went to Asia in, he passed away in February. I went to Asia in, from June onwards, from actually May, June, July, August, till now. I'm planting churches over there with the help of wonderful people. And one of the churches that we've planted is really doing well, and new people are coming, and they're finding the Lord and getting saved.
So what you're saying, Sister Vani, what you're telling us is, even in your emptiness and your silence of your life, in the sadness of your life, giving yourself to whatever God's purpose is bringing the potential of good things in your life.
It is the only thing that will heal you. Service and worship to God. And service, to me, service is a form of worship. Worship is not only us lifting up our hands and singing songs. That's wonderful. That is worship. But surrendering your life to God's purpose, whether it's missions, whether it is cooking for your neighbors, or whether it's getting involved in a neighborhood ministry. Not everybody can go away on a mission trip. Not everyone can move to a foreign land and start a work there, but you could do something in your neighborhood. Finding a new purpose is worship, and worship and serving God would be the only thing that would be able to fill that emptiness and empty space. Of course, God himself fills that empty space. God himself fills that space that your spouse left behind. Only he can. But service to God is what will bring back strength and equilibrium and a focus back into your life. You will not be wandering around aimlessly like a ship without a rudder once you start serving God and worshiping God through your service. Finding purpose has actually been linked to Viktor Frankl. People have heard of Viktor Frankl. He says, we find purpose in work, in love, and in courage, particularly during difficult times. We find purpose in work, in love, in when my husband was alive, my purpose was two things. One, to serve God first, and number two, to serve him. When he died, I no longer had him around to serve, but I still feel I'm serving my husband by fulfilling his dream of planting churches in Asia. It's not easy work. I would much rather he was around. He was a phenomenal musician and singer. I
Yes, he
know
was.
that the churches, thank you, and the churches would, I think the churches would grow even more and double in growth if he was actually around. He would have turned it upside down. He would have made it much more easier for me to do the work of planting churches in a foreign land. Absolutely, but he's not around. So what do I do? Do I quit? I can't quit. There are times when I wish I just could quit, that I was the kind of person that could just give up, curl
Yeah.
up, that I could just curl up, pull the blanket over my head, and stay there and never speak to another soul. There are days when I do feel that way, what I mean if I feel that way, that I wish I could do that. But there is something that just pushes me out of my bed. And I have found, as I've been reaching people and planting these churches and ministering and doing, of course, I counsel every day, 5 to 6 days a week, I'm counseling. But besides counseling, counseling is that's my profession. I'm talking about my ministry. When in planting churches, finding a new location, getting somebody to prepare the food to serve the new church people that are coming in, and making sure the baptistry is ready, the towels are ready, everything is there, getting Bibles, getting people connected to Bible studies, doing all of that is healing me. Is healing me. The Bible is true. Bible, the word of God, cannot lie. Finding purpose and meaning, even in the world of psychology and mental health, has been linked to overall well-being, mental well-being, spiritual well-being.
Absolutely.
I mean, I would, this is not really a rhetorical question, but in a way it is. I would like our listeners at this Zoom meeting today, our Zoom participants, to think about this. If you think about your own life, what areas in your own life right now, whether it's work, love, loving your children, loving someone else, loving your parents, whether in the areas of work, love, or even in courage, could you deepen or find meaning in? Can you serve one person in your circle of connections? Not necessarily just a friend, including friends. Could be a family member, it could be a neighbor, it could be a total stranger. It could be in a soup kitchen in cold winter months. Could be doing anything. And this could also mean, rediscovering certain old things that you used to do. I don't know, an old hobby, or volunteering with a group that is connected to you in some way. It will strengthen your spiritual connections and beliefs. And it would give you that community of support. Even though you're the one serving, you're the one reaching people, talking to people, the people that you are ministering to, the people that you are serving, or that one person that you're serving becomes, in a miraculous way, they become a community of support back to you. The church that I planted a few months ago, and it's thriving, that entire group of people, it's a baby church. We planted it just a few months ago. It's a baby church, but it's growing quite quickly. The members of that church are very young, new converts. They are by no means totally grounded in the word. They're just now getting into Bible studies and grounding and all of that. But you wouldn't believe the outpouring of love that I've received from this group of baby Christians. Has been tremendously healing for me.
I think that's so beautiful. And I think for our listeners, hearing your story, one of the themes that I feel like we keep hearing from you is, in that pain, I think someone just said this on the chat, finding that purpose out of the pain. And it doesn't have to be great. Like, you don't have to even start a church. Like Vani, you're amazing that you would be launching these churches. But I mean, there's a ministry just down the street in the laundromat. When the people come in every week with all their baskets of laundry, and they have kids, and this is what my mom did when she was a widow. My mother would load up her car with bags of groceries. She went to the laundromat. She had Ziploc bags full of quarters. And every week, mother, I bought her a dryer. I bought her a dryer from Sears and put it on payments and was paying out a dryer so mother would be able to dry the clothes in her little cottage. But no, at 80 years old, she's loading up this little widow, this little white hair bun on the top of her head. She's loading up her trunk with groceries and bags and toys that she's found for all the kids at the laundromat. And she did that until she was almost 87 years old. But
Wow.
she found great, and even through her year 60, 70, she had a group of women in the prison she would go teach every week. She had 25 women, and she was teaching these women. So even as a widow, mother had it, nobody really knew about what she was doing, but she didn't care
Wow.
because she was serving out of the emptiness of her life, out of the sadness of her life, out of the loneliness of her life. She was serving and living God's purpose through that pain.
Yes.
And honestly, Sister Vani, mother was so joyful to be serving in these ways. And it filled her days because she anticipated how she was going to help these young women when they got out of jail, how she's going to help them set up a life, where she's going to find the furniture to set up an apartment. She's going to get a junker, an old junker, jalopy. How is she going to get all these kids back out of foster care? This was my mother's life, Sister Vani. This is what she did. I don't know if there was ever a day that she felt sorry for herself. I know she dealt when my brother died at 50 with 50 pounds of tumors in his belly and left 6 little kids. I know that was probably the hardest day of her life because my brother David was her sunshine. But she would not allow that sadness. One day I said, Mama, how are you doing? She said, Oh, Nanny, the sadness comes in like a fog and it wants to cover me up. But I will not let it. She said, I rip those covers back off of me. I get out of the bed and I say, Not today, devil. And I would build altars out of my sorrow. Nan, I build altars out of my tears and I worship God as I serve him with purpose. And that was the example that my mother set in my life.
I
That
think what your I think what your mother did, sorry, Sister Brenda,
no,
was what
that
I think what your mother did was even more powerful than planting churches in Asia. She uh did not look at her age or her frailty as a challenge, or even if it was a challenge, she pushed through it. You know, uh, sacrifice is a painful thing. When you lose somebody you love, it is the easiest thing to just stay where you are
oh
in
yes.
anger, in anger. I
Yes.
counseled I counseled a woman whose husband died much too young. She herself was much too young. She was definitely younger than me and my husband. And she just stopped. She and her husband were ministers in a church. They served the young people, they served young couples. That's all they did. A husband and her were totally given over to serving God, from cooking for them to bringing them to the home, Bible studies, and all kinds of things. And when he died, she just stopped. The depression and that fog that you were talking about, or that your mother was mentioned, the fog that threatens to engulf us and stop us, that fog stayed with this woman, and she came to counseling to me to try to get out of it. And I was telling her exactly what I'm telling everyone tonight. But she said, I cannot go back to serve God. I'm stuck. I'm just stuck.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this anymore without my husband. So I challenged her and I said, do you know why you are stuck? She said, I don't know. I just cannot move. I said, it's because you're angry. And
Ah,
you feel that you have every right to be angry because somehow your husband, he was sick, was not healed, was not cured, and he died, and the Lord took him, and you are angry. You're mad at God, you're mad at people, you're mad at the church, you're mad at yourself because you felt that after all that I've done, why couldn't God do this one thing for me by healing my husband? So you are angry, and that anger is what's causing you to remain depressed. The fog is depression, and the anger is causing you to be stuck and not to get up, push back the covers, push back the fog that your mother mentioned, and to get out there and to do whatever. You could do one small thing one day, and it will have a very big impact. Very big impact. And she just refused because she was angry. So through counseling, I'm talking about many sessions afterwards, I helped her to release her anger. Oh, the anger came out in one terrible torrent of emotion one day when I just helped her to release it. There are ways to do it in counseling, and I'm not going to go there, but she released it, and when that anger was released, she could push back that fog of depression and get to work. Today, she has gone back to teaching Bible studies to young couples in her house.
oh, love
She
that.
makes she makes dinners and lunches for them, packed lunches, and she tells the neighbors, "You will have a packed lunch and a dessert, and you come over, and we'll have a prayer meeting and a short Bible study." It's not a 3 hour long Bible study. The Bible study is about 40 minutes, and that's it. They all have lunch and they eat. She's found purpose. She called me just the other day. She has stopped counseling with me since. I mean, this was some time ago, because she was doing better. I discharged her, I released her, and she said to me, she called just the other day just to say hello, and she said, it's unbelievable, I still miss him. I said, of course, we will always miss the people that we love
Always,
who have passed
always,
on.
always.
Grief is not a promise. The end of grief is not a promise that you will no longer miss them. That's a lie.
Right.
Don't ever believe the lie that, oh, well, I want to get to a place where I no longer miss. You will miss them till you die. You will
Absolutely.
miss them. The missing will change in its feel, or it goes through a metamorphosis maybe, but you will miss them. I know I will miss my sweet husband till the day the Lord calls me back home. I know I will. And I embrace the missing. I'm not rejecting it. I'm not afraid of the missing. I want to miss him.
Oh,
But
it's true. Yes.
however, I will not let the enemy finish me off this way. I won't let grief be weaponized by Satan.
So good.
So the enemy can weaponize your grief. How? He will get you into that fog that you mentioned, and he will take your grief and remind you that everyone failed you. God failed you because God didn't heal your loved one.
Yeah.
God failed you because he knew that you would not be able to do it on your own. And despite that, he took your husband, he took your wife when you needed them the most. And he took them in the prime of life when they still had a purpose to carry on. They still had things to do. My husband was planting churches in New York. We were planting churches and baptizing people in the middle of Manhattan in New York City. in a mobile baptistry. That was my husband. He didn't care. He didn't need a building to baptize people. He would do it in a mobile baptistry.
Yes, he was like that. He was
He
always.
he was always like that.
He was
So
always.
my question to God when I was angry, but my question to God was, why take him to New York and right in the middle of planting and winning all these people and saving all these people, you take him? At least try to make sense of that. That is a mistake we make in grieving. Do not analyze why they left. If you analyze why God did this, you are using human reasoning to try to understand God's higher purpose. You will only become more frustrated and more angry and more depressed. You'll stay mad if you use your human analytical skills to try to analyze how could God do this when they were doing this, this, and this. What wrong did they do? How were they so bad that they had to die in this sickness or disease or in this horrible way or in a car accident or in a heart attack or cancer or whatever? How come God can take somebody when they were in the prime of their life, in the middle of planting churches or being a pastor? I don't understand, because you're using human reasoning. That will make you stay mad.
Yes, that's right.
Stop human reasoning in trying to understand death. If God gives us life, then we need to be mature enough to accept death. We receive blessings from him, Job said. Why will we not receive trials as well? We're very selective in what we receive, aren't we, Sister Granquist?
Yes, we are. We are so human.
We are so innately human, and that's all right to be human. But when it comes to grieving, when it comes to someone you lost through death, you have to look at it through the filter, through a God filter.
Yeah.
Not just your own human reasoning filter. In fact, you shouldn't use that. God filter. Okay, God, you've taken him. I hate it. I hate that you've taken him, you've taken her, you've taken my mother or father or husband, spouse, child. Who'll ever understand burying a baby? I mean, that hurts me just to even think about some of the clients and patients I have that I have had to do grief counseling with them. They buried a baby. I even cannot wrap my mind around something like that. But when we face loss, our question is not, well, our human question will be, why? Why did you take them? Why did you do this to me? I've been faithful to you. I've served you. I have read the word. I have a prayer life. I have been walking in the way of your path for 30 years, 40 years. Why did you do this? Why did this happen? These are human questions.
Yes.
Go ahead and ask it. God does not fall off his throne just because you are asking human questions. He doesn't stop being God, and he doesn't confuse him or intimidate him or make him angry with you. No, he can take your questions. But ultimately, at the end of it all, you must ask this question as well. What do I do with where I'm at right now? What do I do? What do you want me to do with where I am right now? I know you're not a quitter, Jesus, because if you were, you wouldn't have gone to the cross. You're not a quitter. Your spirit is in me. I'm not a quitter. What do I do now with where I'm at? My husband passed away 7 months ago. It would be easy for me to quit and call it retirement. And I think that there would be many sympathetic people and loving friends that would understand if I say I'm retiring. And just because I don't want to serve God anymore, I could just label it in a fake way and call it retirement. There'll be a lot of people who say, You know, she's got the right to retire. She's served God for many years, 33 years. Let her just retire and disappear. I'm not going to be criticized for choosing that way. But I would have to live with the thought that I quit when I have more to give. I would have to live with it. There will be a lot of people that would sympathize and empathize with me if I retired right now. And because there's no such thing as retirement if you're serving God. But but there will be a lot of people that would sympathize with me if I said, you know what, I just would like to be left alone. I've served, I've done my part. Now I'm clocking out, guys. Sayonara. But no, I would have to live with this thought that I quit before my time, that I have gifts to give and I quit. I walked away when I could have walked towards. And so I'm walking toward my new normal. My new normal now looks like this. I don't have a guitarist in the church in Malaysia to play my guitar like my husband would. My new normal is to sing a cappella, Sister Granquist. And everybody in that group sings a cappella. And all of a sudden, God sent us a keyboardist. So now this young man plays keyboards because I didn't quit. I embraced the new normal. The new normal was my husband is not around to play the guitar when I sing. But God looked at the new normal and said, okay, now I'm going to send you something because you do trust me after all.
That's so beautiful.
Why should he trust me with $5 if he cannot trust me with 50 cents? So trust God. Walk towards your new normal. Write down in a journal what your new normal looks like. I spoke to a friend today who lost her husband recently. She's a lovely lady, served God for years, just served God, just, loved God. Her husband served God. Her children served God. And she said, it's the little things that change. She said when she walks into the house, now she has to switch on the light herself, because when her husband was alive, he had the lights on when she came home in the evening. And she has to switch off the alarm because when he was alive, that was all taken care of. The small things that reminds her that she's in a new normal. A new normal is not easy to embrace. It's very painful, but we must accept it. We must not crave or wish for. I mean, we can miss it. We can miss the old normal, but we need to understand that going back to the normal way of life before they died is no longer an option. So ask God for the new normal. Whether it is a soup kitchen during Christmas time or collecting bags of coins to help women wash their clothes and do their laundry, or giving transportation to people who cannot get to church.
Yes.
Doing bus rounds, cooking food for your neighbors who are invalids, find out who's not able to cook or not able to move around a lot. Serving in a retirement home. Anything we do, if we do it in his name, it has its reward. That's what he said.
That's the truth. Nothing is wasted in God's economy. Nothing. Anything that we do. Sister Vani, I know we're getting late here. There's some people that are on the East Coast on this call. I've just wondered if there might be one or two people that just would want to ask you something.
Sure.
Is there anyone if you would like to just ask Dr. Vani something. Anybody? Just open your mic and ask her. Anybody? You just maybe just need a word, or you would like to comment on this beautiful message of hope that she has brought to us. Anyone? Don't be shy. Tammy Miller.
Well, this is my first time to join anything like this. Sorry.
Oh,
My husband died on my birthday, August 14th of this year, and we buried him on his birthday on the
Oh.
25th of August.
oh,
And it was just 2 years after I buried my missionary daddy. I was raised in London, England.
I love that daddy of yours.
I know. And anyway, and I don't know, Sister Marshall, if you know or not, Mervyn and Marilyn Miller, they were RFSs for years in the
Yeah.
Pacific region. And missions work has always been, our life. And James and I were very involved in our church here. I go to my brother's here in Jacksonville, Florida. So we're in Florida right now. And we were very, very involved in everything to do with the church here. So going to church is one of the hardest things that I've had to do, because I hear Jim, I see him. We were also praise worshipers together. We did everything together. We met in St. Louis, Missouri, working for the airlines. He was raised Methodist, and and I took him to church, and I didn't tell him a thing. I wanted him to experience everything for himself. And so when he came, he copied everything I did. My parents were with us that first night he was at church. Mother said he'd watch me, I'd raise my hands. Whatever I was doing, he would do. The second time, now that was like a first date, I guess. The second time he was at church, Daddy was ministering in a local church there in St. Louis. And what happened was, after Daddy preached, I looked up, we were all standing, and I looked up, and Jim wasn't standing beside me. He was at the front speaking in tongues. Now, I didn't tell him a thing. I wanted him to experience everything Jesus on his own. I didn't want to preach to him. I didn't want to tell him this is what we do, this is what we expect you to do. And he got it the second time he was in an apostolic church. And from then on, we lived over 35 years happily married. And his death was a shock to us. He had a triple bypass in the end of June. And he did suffer in the past with ulcers, but the doctor never told us that ulcers with any type of bypass, especially if the ulcers start becoming bleeding ulcers, can end up being a fatality. And so anyway, I had stayed 2 nights with my mom, and I thought, well, Jim, I'll wake up with Mother on my birthday, But he had started passing blood through his bowels, and he was very, very weak. And I live with regrets, because I should have been with him the last 2 nights of his life, but I was not. And so even the night before he died, my mom's air conditioning had gone out. My mother doesn't like to leave her house, so Jim brought over two floor fans, because that was just the way he was. And I told him, I said, Jim, you look so bad. I should have gone home with him at night. I live with this. I feel guilty. But the next morning he called. He said, Tammy, can you come and get me? I think I need to go to the hospital. He had lost 4 pints of blood already. by the time we got him to the hospital. And for 7 hours, instead of taking him to an ICU, they kept him in an ER, which was something they should not have done. But we did have, well, I was with him when he passed away. And I went to his ear and because his eyes were a little apart and I could see they were starting to really dilate. And I said, Jim, if you can hear me, blink once. I had his hand, he blinked once and he squeezed my hand real hard. So I knew he was with me. And he when he passed away that night, I didn't know. I was, as all you know, you're just in a fog. You're not on earth anymore.
Yeah.
It's the most, losing a parent was one thing. It was very hard. I was very close to my dad, but losing a spouse, you do feel lost. You don't feel like you belong anymore. And, I'm trying. Of course, it's all new still. And,
Very new. It's very new, Tammy.
like I said, this is the first time I've openly talked except for friends. And I think it's helping me.
Yeah.
I told my daughter, who you probably actually hear in the background, she stays with me a lot. I'm so lucky to have my children live here in Jacksonville with me and my grandchildren. And I said, Natalie, I've got to get out of here and we're going to go home. I'm going back to London. We were in London with Gemini in January. Dad pastored there for 10 years, and that's where I was raised.
I remember.
And so I said, we're going to go for 10 days, and we're going to take the two youngest granddaughters with me. And because you do have to give yourself time. I've already figured that one out. You've got to give yourself time.
Good. Yes.
And when the grief comes over and you got to cry, get that cry out of your system, then pull yourself together. Because it's going to happen for the rest of my life. It will happen, And yeah, you get angry and you wonder why and question so many things until I don't know how many times I've said, sorry, God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Wasn't raised like this to question why. But as humans, and you question why. And I know there's another side to all this, but like you said, Sister Marshall, tonight, it's going to always be there. The grief will always be there because you loved that person.
Yes.
I told the children, I said, I wish I didn't love your dad as much as I did, but it hurts because I loved him more than anything, and he was a gift to me.
Oh, goodness.
But, through it all, we trust in Jesus more than we've ever leaned on him, ever.
Yes.
I was a lucky woman. I never had to pay the bills. He did it all. So I've had to learn a lot at my old age. He died the day I turned 65 of all years. And it's just different.
Well, you're a young 65.
I'm a young 65.
Yes, you are. You sure are.
Well, I try, Nancy. I try. I love you all so much. I'm a person. I'm a people person, and this is another thing that has, I feel like I've changed because I can't. I'm not there to be me yet, So I'm not that bubbly Tammy. I'm trying to find myself. I'm trying to find the new me because I'm not going to be the old me ever again, but I don't want to lose the bubbly person that I've always been known to be. And that's just being frank with you, doctor. I've always been a people person. People have always been my life, no matter what culture, anything. People's been my life. And now it's to get out there to even look people in the eyeball, it's hard to do. And I'm finding myself always, I've got to pull myself together. I've got to find me, because I'm still here.
Tammy, I cannot thank you enough for being so courageous to talk to all of us. This takes so much courage, but I know, Dr. Vani, I know you would probably like to speak back to what she just said. We can't hear you. You're muted, Dr. Vani.
Yeah,
There you
thank you. I'm sorry. Tammy, first of all, I'm terribly, terribly sorry. There are no words. There are no words when you've been so close to someone like that, and it's just been 2 months, and he passed away on your birthday. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry for you too, sweetheart. I'm sorry for you too. It's all fresh.
It is. But I want to say I just want to say a couple of things to you on a practical side. First of all, it is perfectly okay to ask God why. It is a human question from a human mind, from a grieving human heart. You can ask him why. You're not questioning God, you're questioning the event. You're questioning why it happened. Why should it happen? God is able, he's not intimidated by our whys and what for, why did it happen? He's not intimidated. He's not offended by it. So go ahead and ask him. He understands. He loves you. But I need to tell you this. Now is the time. Don't worry about the new normal now. When I'm talking about the new normal, I was saying in time, your schedule, the subtle changes to your daily routine, bigger changes to your daily routine, bigger changes to your life, even your personality. It'll happen. And you will, yes, even our personality, the bubbly Tammy, maybe a little bit more, not so bubbly. Of course, it's not God's will that we are always despairing and sad and depressed. No, I'm not saying that. But maybe the bubbly Tammy is not going to be the same bubbly Tammy, but a Tammy that is a bit more sedate, but still a people person, but different. That personality changes are also part of the new normal. The important thing is not to try to reach for the old normal, but to try to look for the new. But it will take time.
Right.
It will take time. It's going to take several months to maybe even over a year to find the new normal. Meanwhile, what you can do tonight, tomorrow night, the next few weeks, is you must tend to your physical and mental and spiritual needs.
Yes.
You must tend to, this is going to be so practical. People are going to think, well, my goodness, I mean, is this Bible? Yes, it is. The Bible is very practical. Grief will take a toll on our mind and our body. It will cause fatigue. I'm sorry, but if sometimes we feel, you just said that, you said, I wish I could just pull myself together. I wish I wasn't falling apart. I wish I could pull. Don't wish that you could pull yourself together. Give yourself permission to cry. It's okay. Give yourself permission to be sad. Give yourself permission to, like what you're doing just now. You just gave yourself permission to cry. Nobody should critique you, criticize you for that, or judge you. Nobody should judge you for grieving. However, when you are fatigued because you lack sleep, you're not doing anything about your sleep. If you need help sleeping, there are a lot of natural ways to sleep. Exhaustion can literally kill you. So sleeplessness, not eating nutritiously, among other physical signs of grief and loss, these are some of the physical signs. If you don't sleep, you are not going to be able to pull it together. You're not going to be able to, do the things you want to do even in the future, because sleep is medicine. Sleep is
Oh, yes.
sleep is
Mhm.
the most important of all medicines. If you have to take supplements and vitamins, these are very practical advice. If you
Mhm.
need to go for a walk somewhere safe, go for a walk.
Mhm.
If you want to be alone sometimes and you don't want a whole huge crowd of people trying to ask you lots of questions, tell them I'd like to be on my own. But in that
Mhm.
loneliness, um, you turn that loneliness into solitude. What is the difference between loneliness and solitude?
Mhm.
Loneliness, God is absent. Solitude, God is present. You're
I
still
Mhm.
love
alone.
that. I love that.
Yeah.
You're still alone, meaning that they're not, there's nobody around you. There's nobody sitting in front of you or beside you talking to you or whatever. You're alone. You're in your house or in your room or in your car. But you've just changed the loneliness to solitude
That's so
because
Mhm.
you've invited God in the present. Jesus pursued solitude. Jesus was never lonely.
Mhm.
Although we tend to think of the mind and body as separate, the mind and body is not separate.
Mm-mm.
However healthy you are in your body, it will affect your mind. So
Yes.
I'm not saying eat well, meaning even quantity. Eat nutritiously. Get somebody to
Right.
prepare food for you. Get a friend to prepare food for you, and nutritiously. If you can even exercise in your house, you could just do some movements in your house. Don't stay still. Whatever that if whatever that is moving is good. It's good for your body. Movement is good for your body. Go for a walk. Do some exercise in your home. Um, the reality is, our mind and body is not separate. However way your body, however way you treat your body, that's the way you're treating your mind. That's the
Mhm.
way you're treating yourself mentally.
I
Okay.
wanted to add this to Dr. Vani about self-care.
That is self-care. And self-care is
So,
not selfish. Remember this,
no.
Tammy, Sister
Mhm.
sorry, Sister Self-care is not selfish. I always say that. So a lot of people think self-care meaning you want to just go away for a while, maybe with just one friend, go for a little vacation somewhere, or you want to just read a book. You don't want to talk to anyone. You don't want to hang on the phone explaining things to people. That's not selfish. That is self-care. If you feel that that's going to help you, that's going to and sleeping, give yourself permission to rest and sleep, put your feet up. You are not on anybody's beck and call right now. It's been 2 months. It's still very, very fresh. Yes, 7 months is fresh too, but I've had
Yes.
7 months, and I probably need another 2 years to pull myself together, even though people
Mhm.
think you look pretty pulled together. No, there are times when I am weeping and in pain and crying and angry all at once. But then I remember what I need to do. You will remember what you need to do eventually. Don't worry about your new normal now. Just
That's
rest.
what I wanted. That's what I was wanting to add in is that on my phone, I have added 4 times in the day and it's a pause. It's self-care. And it reminds me, it's on my phone, and it reminds me to take a few moments. And I literally 4 times a day, I pause, I lift my hands, and I remind myself and God that He is Lord over every situation in my life. He is in charge of this day, and He's going to give me the strength that I need because He loves me so much. That 4 times a day on my phone, it reminds me to take a self-care pause.
That is wonderful. What a powerful piece of advice. Don't forget, making a list is a win. Meaning, for example, if you make a list, now some people might think this is ridiculous. It's not when you are in the depth of deep grief. This list is actually quite powerful. Make my bed, take a shower, make my breakfast, make myself a cup of coffee. That sounds good right about now, actually. And
Yes.
go take my dog for a walk,
Mm.
organize my closet, organize my pantry, my towel closet, clothes, write little cards to some friend. Make a list of simple things, not big, huge projects, simple, everyday things. And then remember, every time you cross off on that day what you've done, that's a win. I have made my bed. It's a win. I've taken my dog for a walk.
So
That's a
good.
win. I have taken a shower. It's a win. I made lunch today for myself. That's a win. Anything you do, cross it off your list. Make a list every day for the next 30 days. That is, you are actually exercising your mind, your brain, to be proactive and move forward. It might seem like a waste of time. Why do I have to make a list of shower and brushing my teeth and make it? I do it anyway. Make a list, cross it off. And remember, everything you cross off is a win. Whatever it is, finding meaning in the basics of life. I'm talking about, Tammy, whatever basics that you do, Tammy and the rest of our friends here tonight, whatever you do, the basics of daily life will help you to kickstart your new normal. How do
So
you get to your new normal? Do the basics of life. Don't do big projects. The planting the church thing, it's a big project, but that came months afterwards. And some people think that I should have started that. I should start that maybe next year or 2 years from now. Well, it started now. But the first 2 months after he passed away, after my brother Marshall passed away, I did a list. I hated it. I felt like a juvenile doing it, but I did it.
profound.
Yeah,
Profound.
go through my closet, comb my hair.
So
You know,
so important.
very important, because the basics of life, if you do it and you cross it off, it will kickstart you. I know I'm repeating myself, but it will kickstart you into your new normal. You are forcing your mind into a healing path. Do
So
that.
good.
Take care of yourself. Show yourself compassion.
Yes.
Show
Yeah.
yourself compassion and love.
That's
God
it.
has compassion over you. You must show yourself compassion. Show yourself grace. Show
Yes.
yourself grace and love. Love yourself. And never, never be afraid to put a boundary with people if you think they are encroaching on your space or encroaching on your time. And they mean well. Many of them mean well. They want to come and sit around, but you don't want to be with people. Tell them it's okay. I don't feel like company today. I'm just going for a walk with my dog, or I'm just going to sit in my home and listen to some music. And I'm going to read a book. I'm going to go by the beach if you live near a beach, like I do. But you can do it, Tammy. It's going to take time. Whatever happens, don't let anyone, including yourself, push you into somehow being so much better, or pulling yourself together. Don't push yourself into it. Let it happen gradually, day by day, baby steps. You don't have to rush. If you take a year to get to the new normal, that's perfectly fine. If you get 2 years, that's fine. There is no formula of how long you need to grieve a beloved husband. Thank God. There is no schedule or time limit. God doesn't do that. Don't let people do that. Don't let people say, well, you need to get over it. It's been a year, please. Well, Sister Granquist, I'm sorry that if I've talked for too long.
Oh my goodness, it's been incredible. And I'm so thankful, Tammy, that you were able to speak your heart here on this platform and to just share, because everyone, I'm sure you know this, but confession of our hearts, wherever we're at, whatever's happening, when we confess those things openly, the light comes to that dark place in our soul and
Right.
brings healing. And so it's so important that we can talk, because as we talk, we're able to sort things out. And I'm so appreciative. But I would love for you, Dr. Vani, would you just pray for all of us here on this Zoom right now? Would you just say a prayer?
Father, I pray for Sister Granquist and for all of these beautiful sisters and brothers gathered here today. Life is very difficult for those of us who have lost the ones we love, whether it is a spouse or a parent or a child or a sibling or a friend. And sometimes, Lord, we want to find purpose and meaning again. It becomes difficult, but we know that you are here for us and with us. I pray, oh God, for everyone here that has lost a spouse, that has lost a loved one. I pray they find purpose and meaning. I pray that they are kind to themselves as you are kind to us. I pray that they show compassion on themselves as you show compassion towards us. I pray, oh God, that you would help all of us here, and you'd help Tammy to find purpose and meaning in their life, in her life. And you'd help, oh God, for us to hear your voice clearly. And in the midst of this fog of grief, sometimes it'll be hard to hear your voice, Lord, but make it easy for us. Penetrate that fog with your clear and loving voice. Help us to hear you so that we can be guided through this journey of pain, through this fire, the refining fire, until we come forth as gold. Help us, oh God. Strengthen us. Give us your peace in the midst of this storm that we don't even understand. We don't know the answers to so many questions that we have. And these questions will plague us for a long time yet, but give us peace even in the midst of those questions. Assure us over and over again that you love us. You're there for us. Help us to trust you, God, because trust would have taken a big hit. Hope, even a bigger hit. Help us to hope again. Help us to trust again. Give us the peace that will overwhelm all anger and negativity. I pray all of this. I plead your blood, your precious blood, Jesus, on everyone in this Zoom meeting right now. Strengthen Sister Granquist in her ministry, in her Zoom ministry, and give her many open doors that she may continue to be the blessing that she is to so many people around the world. I pray all of this in your beautiful and lovely name. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vani. Next month is Christmas month, and we have on December 2nd, that's our next A6 Zoom. We're going to have we're having you back, Sister Vani Marshall.
Oh,
We're gonna have you back. You were fabulous. So we need you on this Zoom call. Matter of
well,
fact,
I'm
I
available. If you need me, I'm available. I love small group meetings. I really, really do.
well, I was just wondering if I could give the people that are here tonight, this family of Zoom call people, wondered if I could give them your email or something, if they have a question.
Absolutely. I actually would prefer that they text me. Now, some
Oh,
people, well, why would you give your phone number? It says my phone number is on Google. Will you believe that?
okay,
I didn't put it there. Somebody put it there.
okay.
And so it's actually, if you go to Google and put there Vani Marshall's phone number, it actually comes out. I was stunned, but
Well, I'm stunned right now. Well, there you go, everybody. You can
it,
just
it's
look her
public
up.
knowledge. No, Sister Granquist, you have my number.
Yes.
Please put my number out on this Zoom call right
Okay.
now. In
All right, I
fact,
will.
shall I? I can do that. Oh,
You can
Sister
do it in the
Granquist,
chat box. Yeah.
could you do that? Oh, shall I do that? Okay.
And actually, I wanted to say that next month, our call will be December 2nd. I think it's in the chat box too. Oh, Pastor Jason West. He's doing it right now, Dr. Vani. He's putting your stuff in the chat box. But I wanted to say Dr. Dan Butler has lost his wife of, oh my goodness, 40 some years,
Yes.
Pam Butler. And so all of you, I hope that you can be back next month, December 2nd. And that if you know someone that is going through loss or grief, a hard time, please have them to join us to hear Dr. Dan Butler. He is such a compassionate man. He's like Sister Dr. Vani Marshall, just the same, compassionate, insightful, powerful in ministry. Pastor Jason West just posted Dr. Marshall's contact info. So please contact her if you have questions or anything. Thank you for your incredible time, Sister Vani Marshall. Thank you so much for this tonight. I'm just telling you, this is the best incredible Zoom call that we've
Thank
had. And
you. Thank you. I look forward to hearing from my friends. Please don't hesitate to call me. I am perfectly okay. Please call me. I would love to hear from you if you have any questions. If you even need counseling on grief, I'm available. All right. Bless you all.
thank you so much. And all of you, thank you so much for being here tonight. Just looking at you, seeing your faces, it fills my heart with so much joy. Thank you for being here and look forward to our next session. God bless you. Have a wonderful holiday in Jesus' name.
Bless you.
Bye-bye.